Burnout, the hidden toll on journalists. In the pursuit of truth, they face the harshest realities. They have paid the brutal price for their craft.
Daniel Lutaaya is a veteran journalist with over a decade of experience navigating the complex intersections of power, corruption, and public interest. Though his academic background is in law, Lutaaya found his calling in journalism, receiving foundational training through partnerships with the Voice of America and the British Broadcasting Corporation (BBC). His career has seen him hold pivotal roles at WBS TV and NBS TV, where he worked from 2018 to 2022 before transitioning into a multifaceted role as an editor, educator, and newsroom leader. Lutaaya is best known for his commitment to what he terms confirmatory reporting, a rigorous process that prioritizes absolute factual certainty over the speed of the news cycle. His body of work includes high-stakes investigations into corporate fraud, such as the milkshake story, healthcare negligence in Mityana, and human rights issues in Karamoja. Throughout his career, he has maintained an impeccable record of source protection, ensuring that despite the risks of kidnapping or institutional pressure, none of his whistleblowers have ever been compromised. Today, Lutaaya continues to shape the landscape of Ugandan journalism by mentoring young reporters and advocating for media independence in a challenging economic and political environment.
Would you kindly introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do?
My name is Daniel Lutaaya. I'm an investigative journalist from Kampala, Uganda.
You've covered some of the most sensitive stories in Uganda. What was the moment you realized that investigative journalism is not just a career, but a risk that you're willing to try?
So after I did a story called The Milkshake, it was about a group of scammers that was scamming this big milk company called Lato Milk. The State House Anti-Corruption Unit went and arrested this group of scammers. And after that, I started receiving phone calls from people that I didn't know. They tried all sorts of tricks, you know. They first tried calling to threaten, then they planted ladies to try and entice me. Oh, please come for dinner, let's meet. I like you. But I think maybe that was a wrong move for them because that's not my weakness.
How did you know that these ladies were enticing?
I had gotten some bits of training on what to expect pre-story and post-story from the BBC. So because I had gotten that training from BBC, Voice of America, so we knew that this could be one of the directions that they choose because they were in court and probably they would have loved to maybe get some compromising pictures of me and then use them to blackmail me to change the narrative of the story, especially when the promos come out. There's another story where someone tried to bribe us, me and my producer, a story about a company that was lending people and then taking their property before the loan period had actually expired and not giving them back their land titles. And they tried to give us money to let go of the story, and we didn't. Instead, we made that whole interaction part of the story because we recorded it secretly. When I had to change my phone number for the first time, that's when I realized that, okay, this is not your usual journalism, because the phone number that I had in 2018 is not the one that I have now. All of those changes have come because of stories that we've been doing.
So you mentioned BBC, which brought me to think that I should have started from your past, your training. Yeah. What has been your training in terms of leading you into the field of investigative journalism? Yeah,
I received training from the Voice of America when I was still at WBS TV. My first degree is actually not in journalism, it's in law. So I was still undergrad there, and then I we went for that training, but also on-the-job training. I got training from some wonderful journalists at WBS who are very experienced in investigating, like Timothy Sibasi, Goreti Cheswa, and the others. That's when I got interested in this brand of journalism. And then the training from the Voice of America came because there was a partnership between VOA and WBS, I think it was WBS and UBC by then.
Now, the two people who were on Wednesday convicted of the murder of city businessman Eria Bugembe Kasiukira have a up.
We used to air Straight Talk Africa with Shaka Sali, the late, and so one of the things that we got out of that partnership was trainings, free trainings. And I was one of the young journalists, I was a very young journalist by then, who was selected to go for this training. And then we did that training, and I got interested in really long form journalism and stories that have a longer impact. And so I did my first investigative story for WBS, and I think it was about security at arcades in downtown Kampala. Very old story. I think I did it in 2015.
Where do you personally draw the line between public interest and personal safety? Have you ever walked away from a story?
Yes, I have. I can't say I'm ashamed to say that I've walked away from a story before, because we are trained that there's no story that's worth your life. You need to stay alive to be able to tell bigger stories. So if I had told the story that I walked away from in 2021 and maybe gotten myself in a lot of trouble, gotten kidnapped, or worst of all, killed, I would not be able to investigate Mitiana Hospital. I would not be able to investigate the power issues in West Nile that I did. All these stories that ended up, opening people's eyes to various things. I would not be able to investigate the return of cattle rustling in Karamoja in 2021. So you have to gauge and accept that you will lose some battles to win others. And some of the stories that we've actually let go of, sometimes it's not even threats like against your life. It's just that it's a threat against the source, and you must protect the source at all times. I'm happy that I've gotten threats, but there is no story of mine that I've ever done where a source preferred anonymity, where that source has ever been revealed. The people that we did these investigations against have never found out these sources. Some of them are still working in these organizations, and yet they leaked information to us. So that, for me, that is a plus. If one of your sources gets blown, nobody will talk to you again. Nobody will leak documents to you again. Nobody will leak corruption to you again. But the fact that I have practiced this investigative reporting for a decade now, moving to 11 years, and none of my sources has ever been burnt, that's a plus for me. So we let go because we realize that there is no safe way to tell the story without the source getting burnt at the end of it.
What is the most direct pressure that you faced to drop or dilute a story? Is it political? Is it corporate? Is it institutional? And how did you respond?
I think political and corporate share the number one spot, because the corporate, the guys at the top floor are paying your bills. They are they're signing your checks at the end of the month. And so it looks like the political pressure hits on them, and then they tell you, do this. Like, there is a story of mine that they edited out a certain person. We had revealed so many people. It was an investigation into bars that were operating undercover during lockdown. And remember, it was illegal for people to go to the bars at night, because of social distancing rules. And we managed to enter and got cameras in there. And we captured a certain musician who was very well connected. When we captured this guy and another guy, there were like two people that we captured in that story, whom corporate told us, you know what, you have to remove these people. So the story, like, people enjoyed the story, but I told myself that maybe one time, like right now I'm revealing, so I told myself that maybe 6 years later I'll tell people that actually the story that you watched was diluted because there are people we removed. And if we had added those people, it would be a more blockbuster story.
How then do you operate with non-disclosure agreements, maybe with the corporate entities that you're working with? Is there a point in time whereby you can finally disclose some of the issues that you kept covered?
I'm lucky that I've never signed an NDA with any of the media houses that I've worked with because of the nature of my work. I'm not one who's going to sign an NDA. I will not sign it. You have to, like, there's nothing that can make me sign a non-disclosure agreement, because I know before going in there, like, I have done this for so long that I know that at one point I'm going to go out to investigate a story and find that the perpetrator is the friend of the boss, of the owner of the media house. And in that case, if I signed an NDA, it means that after the boss tells me to get this person out of the story, I cannot talk about it again, forever. So I never sign NDAs at all. Right. But there are journalists that sign NDAs, and they restrict you because you won't be able to tell anybody about anything that happened. But we are bound. I think the only types of NDAs that I sign are unwritten. For example, you will not know who my fixer was on the Mitiana story. You will not know which journalist helped me to identify the health center that we found in West Nile that had babies being born with torch lights because there was no electricity. Like, it's a professional non-disclosure agreement between us journalists who are on the investigates desk.
How do you protect your sources in a country where whistleblowers can easily be exposed or intimidated?
Yeah, so the first thing is, in the raw footage, the raw files, we don't record the name of the source anywhere. And we don't record their face in any of the raw files. So it's not just the video that makes it to the final film. Even the raw footage, if you look at it, you cannot tell who this person is. We use a system called need to know. For example, my editor doesn't know which story I'm going to work on. All the editor knows is that the investigates team has gone out and they have gone up country. That's it. Like even the requisitions in the finance department. Like, if you went to NBS right now and checked our records from the years that I was working, from 2018 up to 2022 when I left, you'll find all the requisitions have up country, that's all. So we try to make sure there is a very little paper trail as possible, because the need to know system is that we only give you information if you need to know that information, and to the extent that you need to know. The easiest way to protect the source is to ensure that you have no record of this source, and that every communication that is done with the source is in person, either in person or using secure communication, which is like, maybe you send a person to talk to them, or you speak to them through a proxy. For example, their auntie or their uncle or their sister, so that there is no direct phone call between Daniel and Mark. These sources, they tell us their deepest secrets, their deepest stories. And the stories that we do about people, they're telling us their worst moments in life. So the best thing that you can do as a journalist is to stay professional with these people and make sure that it is impossible. Like, the only person who actually knows any source in any of my stories that we have hidden from the film, the only person who knows who that source is me and my camera operator. That's it.
Not even the community around?
The community doesn't know, because we don't interview them from their communities. So if we get you in Nakasero, we shall go and interview you from Kansanga. So even if you look at the video and try to look at the background, trying to see if you know this place, you will not, because they will be in a different district. If they are small, if they have a small stature, we shall give them, baggy clothes, very big clothes to make them look bigger. So anyone that you see that looks big in my film was actually a small person. Anyone whose voice sounds like a woman was actually a man.
Have you ever broken the story that had unintended consequences? Perhaps harming someone that you didn't intend to? How did you deal with that ethically?
I don't think that has ever happened to me, because the stories that we do are, first of all, because they are long form, we are not chasing the news cycle. So we're not trying to push out investigative stories as fast as possible. We want to be as accurate as possible. And sometimes when we find that the accuracy is off, we actually drop stories.
Are there times that you've seen that the accuracy is off and you've dropped?
Yes, I have sometimes found that the accuracy of a story is off when we fact check it, because we fact check even the sources. Like, even the people who come to us to give me like their story, their suffering, we check what is in it for them. For example, if someone is saying that the LC5 of Ginger is a very bad person and is stealing money, and this person who is saying these things is his former opponent in politics, So we have to look at what is in it for the source. We have to identify 3 sources that give us this similar information for us to confirm. Because investigative journalism is not our usual journalism where we just put facts out and let the public decide. Investigative journalism is confirmatory reporting. We are not reporting that there may be corruption. We're not reporting that there might have been a rape. We're not reporting that there might have been a theft. We're saying the theft happened, we are sure it happened, here is the evidence that it happened, and here is the person who stole the funds. So it's now on to you, government, to arrest the person. So confirmatory reporting requires a level of, the burden of proof is very high for us. So if there is even a small percentage that this could be wrong, or that this person could have sinister motives, we just don't do the story. And that's why most times we actually do undercover stories where we take ourselves into the system and do a sting operation. A sting operation is where we set up secret cameras and record theft, maybe corruption or something happening in real time. The reason we do that is because people have told us, many people have told us, oh, I saw that man stealing government money. Oh, I saw that man stealing government medicine. I saw this woman stealing government medicine, but we've never seen it. So because we are doing confirmatory reporting, we have to send our own actors into the scene and record a new theft happening and sting them, give them cash, try to bribe them so that we confirm that, you know what, we had that they used to steal in last year, but we also created a sting operation and found that they were actually stealing this money.
Do sting operations hold for evidence as crime?
Legally, it is a bit complicated because we record them without their consent, but there is a loophole in public interest because most of the stories that we do are in public interest. So because of that, some of our stories have been used as evidence in court and they have passed because there is actually proof. But also most times after investigations, people confess. Yes, whenever they are arrested, they just, when they reach, they just plead guilty so that they get a lesser sentence.
So then institutional support. To what extent do Ugandan media houses truly support investigative journalism when it conflicts with business interests or political alliances?
In my experience, they support to an extent, but private journalism is also a business. So it's very difficult to be independent but also make money at the same time. For example, I would have loved to investigate the biggest advertisers on TV. They were the guys spending the most amount of money. There's a time I had a very good tip about illicit financial flows on one of them, the huge advertisers in Uganda, everybody knows them. But I couldn't because like 70% of the organization's budget is being funded by, the revenue is being funded by the adverts from these huge organizations. So whereas media houses want to support, most times their hands are tied because you have to weigh, you have people to pay. Even us, the investigative journalists, we need our checks to be signed at the end of the month. So you have, like I said earlier when I was talking about choosing the stories, you must choose your battles. You choose the battles, you say, in order to have enough money to investigate this company, we have to let go of whatever this company is doing because they're giving us money, and then investigate this other. But it is not the ideal situation where media houses should be. And I think that the independence of the media is affected by the model that we are using right now, which is the advertiser-funded model. And subscription models for revenue are working. Also, the government-funded model is also working for the BBC, for example, which is funded by the government. Even UBC is able to investigate any company because their biggest revenue is not from advertisers, but rather from the taxpayers.
Second, lastly, impact measurement. How do you measure success?
So for me, I measure success by just how many criminals that are put away because of my investigations, but also how many people's lives are touched by the journalism and how many young journalists want to become investigative journalists because of the work that we have done.
What is one truth about investigative journalism that no one prepares them for?
Investigative journalism is a very long process. It is not, a story could be about 15 minutes, but to get those 15 minutes on TV takes you 6 months rather. You will investigate a story for 3 months, and then on the 3rd month realize that your trail has run cold. You'll realize that the source who gave you the initial information lied to you and you're actually chasing a shadow. And then you have to drop 3 months of work. So it is a very long and tedious process. And in order for us to get one good story, we have to drop like 5 others because they have just not reached, either they are false or they are true but have not reached the level of where the burden of proof is, which is beyond reasonable doubt. Or maybe the stories have been affected by the challenges that we talked about earlier in this interview, self-censorship, or even censorship from the top floor of your media house. Or you find out that the people who are the perpetrators in the story are your bosses because media houses are owned by human beings and they make mistakes. And if you look at Uganda's space right now, most of the media houses, especially radios, are owned by politicians. And these are guys who have business dealings, they have political dealings. So you investigate a trail 1, 2, 3 months, 4 months, and then find that your boss is the guy that you are supposed to expose. So you let go of that story because you need a check at the end of the month. So I think investigative journalists that are starting out need to prepare that it's a long and tedious process.
That have shifted all the way since from when you started to here, that have kind of made your work easier. What are some of those tools? This is a closing.
Well, the tools that have made our life easier are smartphones. They've made life so easy because you can get evidence and then put it on Google Cloud very quickly. So it's like you're moving around with a computer. You can also record with it, very quickly. There are ways where you can hide your smartphone somewhere on you and then just record something very quickly. You can hold it in your hand while it's recording. It can record audio for you. Like you enter someone's office and you're like, this is the only chance I have. You can just fidget with your phone as if you are tweeting and just record. So the phone is our greatest tool right now. We have gadgets, we have secret cameras, all this fancy stuff, cameras that look like everything. Like everything you see in the background here could be a camera. But sometimes you find that we always turn back to this guy. This phone here, and it's all you need because it's the most inconspicuous gadget on everyone's hands. If you are holding your phone, even if I'm talking while holding it, nobody will suspect that I'm maybe recording audio on it, and then I will get my audio.
Okay. How about when it comes to AI and processing data?
There are data processing softwares, especially with financial investigative reporting for like illicit financial flows. There's one called HeyGen. Even ChatGPT, if you are paying for the premium version, it's very good with looking at big data sets and giving you a summary of it very quickly. In 2015, when we had started, you had to get a file. Like I have files in my office of like leaked documents. Someone had to leak to you physical files, and then you get like an accountant, someone who is professional, and look through like ledgers and ledgers. But right now you can just get a PDF of a company's annual report and put it into ChatGPT, and then GPT will give you, you tell it, please give it a good prompt and say, please identify any irregularities with this financial data, and they'll give it to you immediately. So that's powerful. And the fact that you can also do it on phone again is a plus.
Okay. Wow.